Please welcome now to the Imus in the Morning program our old friend Peter Kiernan. Good morning, Mr. Kiernan.
Great to be with you again.
So you had a lot of experience on the stock market. Market's up 5% since my Trump got elected.
Well, there's been an unbelievable rebound, right? The night of the election, it traded off 800 points. It was a panic. And there were people saying, dive, dive. And I thought it was the greatest buying opportunity. I actually said so on the joint you used to be with. I think it's been fun to watch it go through 19,000 Dow, 20,000 Dow, 21,000. But I think if you step back and look at the perspective of a little bit of history, it paints a slightly different picture.
Why wouldn't you mention the Fox Business Network?
Oh, I'm happy to mention the Fox Business Network. If they're friendly with you, I'll be friendly
I love
with
them.
Oh, great. I love them, too. I was on them, and they said, what do you think is going to happen here? I said, the greatest buying opportunity I've seen in a long time. It's panic. Because what's underneath it, it's funny today, if you go back 8 years ago today, I remember exactly how I felt. Because exactly 8 years ago today, the Dow Jones hit its bottom after that crash. It was 6,500. So you think about that recuperative power, 6,500 8 years ago, and we're at 21,000 today, more than triple. And if you look at it, we have an economy of, frankly, just it's majestic. An $18 trillion economy, so that's 22 or 23% of the economy of the whole world. That's us. And it's impossible. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Obama, Trump. It's impossible to keep an economy that robust, that powerful down. And what we're seeing is a continuation. And there certainly is a Trump rally, but this is the longest bull market that I can ever recall in my 40 years of doing this. Because it really goes back 8 years.
There's some hedge funds guys that are suggesting some sort of sell-off. Is that just a minor adjustment that we see all the time?
I think it's a minor adjustment. I'll tell you, there are people who are looking for a bubble because why not look for a bubble? But I don't see indications of it. And I'll give you just a couple of examples. People always worry about how volatile is the market, right? Is it going up? It's down. We've gone 100 days, more or less, without the market going down 1%. And frankly, I can't ever remember that being the case. So the market is calm. And it's not like their volumes are crazy, or remember the dot-com bubble when all kinds of people, 1 out of 5 stocks that people were buying were dot-coms. That's not the case today. The banks have had a pretty good rebound, but there are reasons. Trump said some things that have really helped the market. He said, I'm going to build infrastructure to the tune of maybe as much of $1 trillion over 10 years. I'm going to cut regulations. I'm going to cut corporate taxes. I'm going to make jobs happen. And all those things feed enthusiasm for the economy, and the stock market is forward-looking, and I think it's time now. We've sort of had a little bit of leveling off from the Trump rally. It's time for a sort of a second phase rocket, and that is that Trump's going to have to produce. We've had a great sort of jawboning and battle of words, but he's going to have to deliver pretty soon, and I think that's what the hedge fund folks in the main are concerned about, that everything he talks about, which is pro-economy, has been stretched out in a timetable, and everything seems to be taking a lot longer than they thought. So
that indicates then?
It says a pause. It says, just take a break. It's like I said, if for a stock market to go 100 days without going down 1% on a single time, tells me that things are calm. It's not unusual to see 2%, 3% days. So the fact is we're up a little, down a little, kind of hovering around 21,000. I think there's more room to grow. I really do. But more important than what I think, there are people like Warren Buffett and others say, look, the fundamentals of the economy are good. And if Trump...
I didn't mean to interrupt. Well, I did mean to interrupt you. So.
Please do.
I don't know why I say I didn't mean to. I did. Well, my question is, what does Trump have to do?
Well, here's the thing he has to do.
What can he do?
He had a very calming speech. I thought the best speech of his career in front of the joint session the other night. And just when you thought
so it was saying he read a good speech. Good.
Well,
okay.
I give him it was well written, and I give him a B minus for his delivery. You can't really dance to it, but it was a pretty good performance. I would say this: the difficulty is that just when the winds calm down, suddenly a gust of chaos bursts in, like the latest. You used to read Mad Magazine, Spy versus Spy.
Sure.
I think we're in Spy versus Spy. So the Democrats are saying that the Republicans stole the election, and now the Republicans are saying, well, some of them anyway, at least the president is saying, I think that somebody was trying to wiretap me in my office in Trump Tower. And that steals the march. It steals the appetite. It steals the energy. And it gets in the way of doing the things that are important to be done. I don't care whether his kids sell clothes at Nordstrom or Burlington Coat Factory. I don't care about that. What I care about is, are we creating jobs? Are we helping to rebuild our aching and creaking infrastructure?
Well, why does he get sucked into that then?
You know, he's frustrated me in this respect. I can't believe that he made the precise same mistake that Obama did. That the first thing he tackled was health care. The most vexing, the most complicated, the most impossible. You know, I've been chairman of a hospital. It's almost impossible to parse through.
Which hospital are you chairman of?
I was chairman of St. Vincent's in Westchester,
Oh, okay.
and then I was on the board of St. Vincent's downtown for a long time.
Well,
So,
he said he was going to do that. That's the first thing he said he was going to do.
And I think
build
that's
a wall.
Well, I think it was his mistake. I think he should have gone for tax reform. He should have gone for infrastructure. He should have gone for jobs because, A, those were accomplishable. Democrats and Republicans agree that infrastructure should be rebuilt. That creates jobs. That creates momentum. That proves he's not a bad guy. And once you've got some momentum and flow, then you can take the really complicated, acrimonious stuff like healthcare on, because there's no way you can do it quickly. You know, the Obamacare law was 380,000 words. That's a lot of words. But it begat, just like in the Bible, millions of words of regulations. And it's that stunning combination of law plus regulation that is a rat's nest and impossible to untangle. Why did Obama go there first? Because he got conned into it. And there was the example of how not to do it. And you tell me why Donald Trump chose to take that same playbook when he had other things on his mind. I think he got bad advice, and worse, he took it.
We are talking with Peter Kiernan here on the Imus Morning Program. How'd you get famous now?
Oh, I got famous by hanging out with you. I mean, basically, you made me what I am today, and I want to thank you for it.
That's right.
So what did you do to make all your money?
I worked on Wall Street for about 30 years, most of it at a place called Goldman Sachs. By the way, we've been out in the hinterlands for a while. It looks like Goldman is back a little bit. There are a few of them in this administration.
You like Matt Taibbi?
I think Matt Taibbi has a stunning ability in a phrase or two to capture a mood or a spirit. And I actually wrote him. He never wrote back, but it doesn't matter. I just wrote him and said, I thought that the description of Goldman Sachs was the most powerful, hard to read about a place I used to work, but a powerful image. And I think he's a very good read of sort of the mood of the population. I don't always agree with his assessment of business, but I think he has the capacity to really capture in a phrase what a lot of people are feeling.
Did you read Griftopia?
I did not. I did not read Griftopia.
Oh, you really should. I've got my kid goes to Rice University. I got him reading it.
All right, I'll definitely, on your recommendation, take a look at it. Listen, he's a master of the craft. He writes beautifully. Like I said, I don't always agree or enjoy what he writes, but my hat's off to craft.
Back to my Trump for a second.
Sure.
Well, he by his own admission, thought healthcare was going to be a lot simpler to tackle than it's proved to be. So he said that.
You know, the thing that troubles me is it shows he's a very talented amateur, and he's surrounded by people. Most of them are business people. He needs some folks in there who could have explained to him what should have been patently obvious. The Clintons got tripped up in healthcare. Obama got tripped up in healthcare. Frankly, I don't think he passed another really important piece of legislation because he spent all his personal capital in his first year or so on Obamacare, on the Affordable Care Act. And so the notion that Donald Trump wouldn't learn anything from that history and would plunge in and get into a race, and now they're racing to come up with repair, replace, rebrand, and some other I don't know. Frankly, Obamacare is not completely a disaster.
What do you think the goal, I mean, it's a dumb question kind of, but because the answer probably is obvious, but I'm interested in what you think. What do you think the goal is of people who oppose him? and particularly considering the level of acrimony and anger and all that. So.
Well, it's a Republican playbook, and I don't think it worked particularly well for the Republicans, although they did win the election. And I worry about the Democrats if they're going to become the party of no. That's never really been their way. And I've spent a lot of time supporting Democrats over my career and life, and I have seen a lot of them be sort of issue-oriented and solution-oriented, and being the party of no, I think, is not the way to go for them. And what it's going to do is it's going to force them further and further to the left. It's going to give voice to people like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, and I don't believe personally that's where the power is in our nation. I believe the power is in the center. Bill Clinton knew that. I think Bill Clinton was trying very hard to push Hillary into the center rather than have her jog left. I think somebody who's a great real estate man like Trump realized the value of that property in the center, and so he moved there. He's not a true conservative. And so if the Democratic Party is not going to have a game plan that leads them to capture that center where most of us live, most of us are reasonable. We tilt right, we tilt left. The answer is not in the extremes of either party, but I think the Democrats are on this method of trying to stymie everything Trump does. And by the way, he's someone who's so thin-skinned, he will react to any little outrage. And so once he starts to build momentum after a great speech, for example, you can trick him back into the chaos with where he is right now, tweeting at 6:30 in the morning on stuff that's not entirely proved, right, about his being wiretapped.
Isn't there somebody, I mean, we thought this, the son-in-law was somebody who could talk him back off the edge for these kinds of outbursts, tweeting at 6:30 in the morning on Saturday. But do you see him or anybody else who do you see a point where he can resist shooting himself in the foot every 10 minutes?
Well, he is. First of all, he has a preponderance. He has a predilection to do so, right? And that's why he was an exasperating candidate and he's an exasperating president. The question is a great one, but the problem may be answered with this. Who are the number one, number two, number three advisors? It's sort of a cacophony. You've got Bannon, you've got the son-in-law, you've got the daughter, you've got all kinds of people around Reince Priebus. I honestly think changes have to be made. He's a chief executive. It's time he acts like one. He's got a guy who is his press secretary who is way over his skis, in my opinion, not up to the task, and he should be replaced. He does not represent the president well, in my opinion.
And Priebus is way in over his head as well.
And I think
I've
you're
never been
absolutely
impressed
right.
by him. Have you?
No, I think you're absolutely right that he is a guy who has demonstrated that he cannot manage and forecast. I mean, one of the things, this is about expectations and probabilities. And you manage this like a chess game. I think we've talked about chess on this show before. This is a chess match, right? And he is getting outplayed. They're always behind the curve. And this is a guy who has a propensity, in Trump I mean, to control the dialogue, to control the what the media is saying. And he is now always a day late and dollar start chasing. And that is because his team has been unprofessional about keeping him prepared.
No. Always fascinating to have you on the program. I always wind up learning stuff.
Well, it's great to be with you. I always enjoy it myself.
Peter Kiernan here on the Imus Morning Program.